As hard as this may seem, I want to tell you that I am a crow that has flown all the way from Israel, and I was there 2,000 years ago when Jesus rose from the dead. Can you believe it? Caw.
Hello, my name is Father Mike Manning. I'm here to wish you a very holy and blessed and joyous Easter. May the experience of Christ, who is risen from the dead, touch your life with hope and peace and joy like you never experienced it before. May this Easter be something that you look back on and say, yeah, I can remember that Easter. That was a time when I really knew that God loved me in a deep, rich way. That's what this program is about. It's a chance for us in maybe just a half hour to come to you with some special messages, some talking with some very important people, and being able to understand how God wants to reach out to you with the promise of life. Now, whenever we talk about the great victory of Easter, when we talk about Christ's death and coming to new life, we almost always have to relate that to something that is very deep in our own fears. And that's the fear of death that we experience in our own life. There isn't anything we fear more, is there? And we try to avoid it by the pills we take, the food we eat, the exercise we get, and all the things that are important to maintaining a good, healthy existence to push away that reality of death. And yet we know that death is around us. And Jesus comes through his death and then resurrection with the simple promise of hope. I've got to share with you that just yesterday, as a pastor of a parish here in San Bernardino, California, I had two very strong experiences of death, as well as the promise of everlasting life and the victory of the resurrection. I was working at my computer, getting something ready for the bulletin, and the doorbell rang. And it rang again, and I thought the secretary was going to get it, but it turned out she didn't. So I went to the door, and there was a young woman with her daughter, and she said, she was speaking in Spanish, but she said, "There's a lady who lives just across from me who has passed away, and we want you, Father, if you'd come and to bless the body, to put oil and to pray over the body." Well, I said yes. I didn't have my clerical shirt on, so I went and I changed, and I got in my car, and they were parked in the front of the rectory, and so I followed them. Oh, it wasn't far away, 5-10 minutes away. And we parked over at this lady's house, and then we walked across the street, and as I came into the house, it was a very poor house, you could tell. But then they motioned me into this room, and as I walked into the room, there was a lady. She was in the bed, and they had put the covers up to her, and very obviously she was dead. They had said that they had called 911, and the emergency had come, and the fire department had come, and all the people that are involved with making sure that everything is done well when someone passes. And they asked, "Father, would you please pray over Our Lady?" And this, of course, was all in Spanish, but the lady's name was Teresa. So I prayed, and as I prayed, I noticed that family members started coming in, and they started standing around, so that in this very small little bedroom, Teresa's bedroom where she had died just 2 hours previously, there were now perhaps, 15 people. Her mother was right next to me. Her father was just down there. Her husband was over there. There were children and grandchildren. And we prayed, and we asked God's blessing, and we spoke of the victory of Christ, even in this moment of deep sorrow. As we laid and looked at her, her mouth was ajar, and her color had gone. And as I reached down and I put the oil on her forehead, I could feel the chilliness of her body. But you face death. But then you face the victory of what Christ is about. And this is what Easter is all about. In the midst of what seems a brokenness and emptiness and shallowness, there was hope. There was the life that this woman now has with God. She's lived the good life, and in our faith, we believe that she is with the Lord. Well, I came back to the rectory, and we've had an accident. Someone out of what just drove right into the fence of the parking lot for the school and the parish. And so I had a gentleman out, and he was giving an estimate of how we were going to repair the fence. Oh gosh, it was a big thing. And as we were concluding this talk, a young lady walked up, and I was trying to get finished with this because we want to get this fence repaired as soon as possible. And she said, "Father, could you talk with my son?" And I didn't know what was going on, so I said, "Well, let me finish here with this gentleman and that." And she said, "He's over in the church." And so after I finished with the man in the estimate of how they could fix up the fence in the church, I walked with a woman, and she turned to me and she said, "Last night, my son shot his best friend. They were dealing with some kind of a firearm, and it accidentally went off. It shot him through the arm, it went right through his heart, and he died instantly. And my son is just overwhelmed with the reality that he's the one that pulled the trigger, not desiring to hurt him in any way, but just trying to figure out how they could get the gun to work. And they'd pulled out he said he'd pulled out the clip, and they thought that there was no danger, but there was still a bullet lodged in the rifle. And his best friend was killed by him. He was sitting in the chapel. So I said, "Come on, let's go." And so we sat down. We have some chairs right there in the sanctuary, and I put my hand on his shoulder. And he started, and just, of course, he was filled with tears. He was holding a rosary in his hands, and he was deeply filled with the regret and the guilt of what had happened. But he was also overwhelmed with perhaps that God was punishing him and would punish him for the terrible thing that had happened, not because he had wanted it, but because of an accident. As I put my arm on his shoulder and spoke with him, I spoke to him of the reality of the resurrection, the reality that even in this pain, we believe in God's life, and that your friend, Emmanuel was his name,